Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Copilot Learning Hub. I'm Dona Sarkar. I'm going to be your host today. And one of the topics that all of you have asked about is M365 Copilot and extensibility. I know we've covered this across a variety of ways, right? There's theoretical, there's practical, there's hands-on. And we thought, let's do a little more hands-on. And specifically, let's do hands-on as it relates to high-code developers. We know so many of you out there live in Visual Studio. And we thought, why not bring along an expert to teach you how do you extend M365 Copilot using Visual Studio. Please welcome to the show today, David Schneider, all the way from Switzerland/Barcelona. Hi,
Exactly.
David.
Hi, Donna.
Thank you so much
Hi,
for joining
Donna.
us.
Thanks.
Please tell us who you are.
Thanks for having me. Yes, I'm David Schneider. As you said, I'm working for a leading Microsoft partner in Switzerland, but I'm based in Barcelona. I'm active in the community since a couple of years. It started all with SharePoint, then Office 365, Teams, and now obviously Copilot. I'm awarded as a Microsoft MVP and as a region director.
Well, David, thank you so much for joining us. You bring decades of experience in the space. And specifically, what's so interesting to me about Copilot is it really is this, this big addition of all the stuff we've done before coming together in this moment when we're having this transformative moment in technology and we're changing every single industry. So one of the things that I think is so special about you is that you live in a high code space, but you work deeply with customers. And I think that's incredibly important because there are a lot of things we can do with low-code tools, but sometimes you do need very traditional software engineering to be able to solve those just those hard to solve problems that are, that span the entire enterprise, that affect every single person in the business. So I'm very excited to see what you've got for us today.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Maybe let's get a step back, and I think we are all very excited what happens in the space in the last 2 years, and also especially about the speed of innovation, how Microsoft was able to bring this large language model to Microsoft 365. And Microsoft 365 is a great tool, but I truly believe that there is more. There is more to do. There's more to come, and that brings me to that quote of Joanna, to that tweet that she posted already some months ago. And for me, it's like I see it as my task to find ways that our users don't have to do the laundry and dishes, but they can automate the work using Microsoft 365 Copilot. So let's give me an example.
We can all get behind that, David, because we would love for AI to do our work for us so we can have more free time to live our life. That sounds perfect.
Exactly, yeah. And I think one of the biggest plus of Microsoft 365 Copilot is it's that extensibility is built in. We have that since many years in SharePoint, in Teams, in Office 365 or Microsoft 365, so it's built in the platform. And there is, to visualize that, if you look at this graph, you have knowledge and skills. When you take a large language model off the shelf, it's like GPT-4. You just have the knowledge within the model. But then when you add Microsoft 365 Copilot, you add extra knowledge like Microsoft Graph, your data that you use every day. You add the internet as a knowledge source, and you add skills to Microsoft 365 apps like Outlook and PowerPoint and Word. And now we have this extensibility story. You can extend Copilot with either a graph connector, then you add additional knowledge that you have maybe in your line of business applications, or you can create plugins. And these plugins add skills to the Microsoft 365 Copilot. And here I would like to give you an example. I'm Swiss, and as a Swiss, I'm very proud about our mountains, our cheese, our chocolate, but also about our trains. Swiss people are like the second largest train user worldwide. And when I worked back in Switzerland as a consultant, I often took the train to visit a customer. And I had to plan that trip. I had to maybe search for the journey information, talk to a colleague because we were supposed to take the same train, add that to my Outlook calendar, etc., etc. And that was not a lot of work, but a lot of breaks from systems. So I had the idea to create the Copilot plugin that does that all for me.
Okay, can I just interrupt to say, first of all, Swiss trains are so timely. If they say they're arriving at 8:03, they're there 8:03. I am amazed.
Exactly.
And it goes everywhere. You actually do not need a car in Switzerland if you're doing something casual. I'm so impressed by trains in Switzerland. Also the cheese, just letting everyone know. Just letting everyone know.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Go on.
I'm also a big fan of public transportation. One day I even took the bus from Seattle downtown to the Microsoft headquarters.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was also a pretty...
That is ambition, because that is not on time.
Yeah, exactly. But I made it, yeah. Now let's show you how what I built, how this Copilot plugin looks like. In Copilot, in Microsoft 365 Copilot, you can activate plugins. You can install that from the store or create it with Visual Studio and then install it in your tenant.
Yep.
And then you just can put a prompt here. And I asked the Copilot to give me the train journey information from Bern to Basel. Now Copilot detects, hey, I need to call a plugin for that information. It calls my plugin. This plugin calls an API with journey information and gives me back four train connections. And when I can hover over, I see this nice adaptive card where I can even click here and buy a ticket for that train.
I love that you can do this in line. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's really a cool thing. And how we built that is pretty simple. It's just a Teams message extension. This is something that we already know for many years in Teams. This Teams message extension calls an Azure backend. And this Azure backend calls again like an open data API that provides the journey information. And the same message extension can be called by Copilot plugin. Now, the magic in this solution is that Copilot detects based on human language which plugin to call, which method of that plugin to call, and also does the wiring between the parameters of the plugin and the prompt I put in. So the human language becomes the API layer between applications. And just based on my prompt, on the description of the plugin and the description of the parameters, the plugin, Microsoft 365 Copilot is able to call the plugin and to get journey information back to the user. And with this kind of magic, you can imagine there's much more possible. You can connect your line of business application. You can call whatever API you want, and you can offer that to the user.
What I love about this is you are using something that's been around a long time, Teams message extensions, which we've been able to use in M365 for a long time, to just do adaptive cards in Teams and take action on specific things like action messages, search messages. You look up stuff or you change stuff in line. We used to have one that would update our work items just from the Teams meeting, right? We would go through and say, Donna is really behind in shooting these episodes. Actually, let's schedule a bunch, that sort of thing. And I love that you are using it to make your Copilot experience more robust. So that way you're able to maximize this out-of-the-box Copilot with something you already know how to use. So that is really, really awesome.
Cool. I like that you liked it. And that's it, what I wanted to show you. And I hope I inspired you a bit with the possibilities of a message extension.
What I love about this is that the possibilities really are very endless, right? If you can get an API of some sort of a service, some sort of a website, you can now have access to that information from within the Copilot that you already have. And you have to do that once. That's not an ongoing thing. Once you figure out how I use this API to make a message extension, whether it's search or action, now you can use it within M365 Copilot. You can use it in many of the other ones too, actually. And suddenly your Copilot is like this control center of things in your life. For me, like you, travel is a big deal, right? And travel is annoying. It is annoying to go to those websites, look at all these results, filter through them, find the one that works with your schedule, versus being able to say, given my calendar for this date, which train, which plane, which car should I be taking to get to there on time? Which is, the magic of using natural language AI things to actually do our jobs, live our lives better.
Yes, exactly. That's really cool. And one other thing that is also cool, you can, like, if you're an ISV and you build your own product, your own solution, you can put that to the Microsoft 365 store, and then your user, your customer can use that and install that actually in their tenant and use it to buy or use or plan your services.
That is such a great point, because what an interesting discoverability tool for ISVs is to say, hey, if you're building a tool, make sure it's pluggable, because then you're going to get a lot more people being able to access it from where they're at already. That is great.
Exactly.
That's a great point. Dear ISVs, pay attention. You heard the man. You heard the man. All right, David, thank you so much for joining us today and enlightening our audience on how to use Teams message extensions to extend Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Everyone, we'll see you next time. Copilot Learning Hub.